Beau, thanks for joining us today inside the rails.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Glad to have you in the studio. I got a burning question that I have to ask. I'm sure you've been wondering, what kind of questions am I be faced with? The first question I have to just know is, how old were you when you learned how to spell Beaullieu?
I think it was a requirement for me to get out of kindergarten. So the rest of the world has trouble with pronouncing it, with spelling it. But for me, it was the big test to get out of kindergarten. It took a while.
So, we met, you and I remember having lunch whenever I was first announcing my interest in public service. And I remember just trying to email you the difficulty I was having. Is there an EAU at the end? Is there just a EU? Anyway.
You're not alone in that.
Okay, all right, good. I'm glad to know it's not just me. On a very, more serious note, tell our viewers, our listeners, a little bit about, where you grew up. What was young Beau like?
Yeah, so that's a loaded question.
We're not asking your mama, we're asking you.
Yeah, no, young Beau had a lot of energy. Maybe not quite as much, or a little bit more than I have today, but young Beau was full of energy. I enjoyed myself to the dismay of some of my teachers from time to time, but young Beau had a good time, but also knew when to take things serious as well. So kind of a little combination of both. So
New Iberia?
New Iberia. Grew up in New Iberia, born and raised there. Both my parents from there. The way a crow flies, maybe live about 1.5 miles from where I was born. Married a girl from Lafayette and got her over to New Iberia, and so we've raised our 4 kids there, and it's been good. So
pretty close to the family, all pretty much close by. Grandparents.
Yep, both my I guess 2 sets of grandparents grew up in Iberia Parish. One of my grandfathers was from McAllister, Oklahoma. Grew up as Choctaw Indians.
Really?
And then my grandmother on my dad's side grew up in the Lafayette Parish area. I think it was my great-grandfather was one of the early engineers in B.O. Sugar in the Broussard area. So, so kind of a combination of families in the area.
Getting exposed to a lot.
Oh, yeah.
A lot, in your youth. Just thinking through that, do you remember if there's a person who influenced you a lot during that time period when you were young and starting to grow? And
yeah, obviously, my parents had a big impact on me, and they were always, as rambunctious as I was, they still held me and my 2 brothers accountable for the decisions we made. I had a tennis coach, Kobe Windmill, that was pretty influential, just kind of helping create the motivation in me to try and play hard and fight hard. And so he was a big factor, and a lot of teachers along the way too. Jamie Nelson Hebert was one of our campus ministry folks. She got into my head a little bit and gave me some motivation, and so it's good to hear from her from time to time too. So yeah, we had a number of people. I don't think you're born in that leadership position. You have a couple of people that look out for you and show you the ropes and encourage you. And I had my fair share along the way.
Maybe pass a hand on the back of the head every now and then too.
Not every once in a while. It was more often the hand on the back of the head.
What about jobs? Growing up, is there one of those first jobs you remember that kind of helped you, realize the importance of showing up on time and
public service. So Bilo Supermarket.
I know the Bilo.
I would ride my bike on Saturday mornings and work produce at 12 or 13 years old with another friend of mine, and then as a cashier later on growing up, and so all that helped dealing with the public and helped me with my numbers too, my calculator skills, because at the time you couldn't just scan things at the grocery store.
Yeah, you got to talk to people.
You have to talk to people. That's right. And so that was a big deal. After high school, worked a little bit in oil and gas in the summers, and I remember this one guy. His name was Spike. We were working on a dock in Fouchon, and I had this day shift. So I worked night shift a lot of times, 7 and 7. And on my last day shift, I think I lost 10 pounds that week because it was so hot. And Spike looked at me and says, "Hey, I don't ever want to see you back here again. You need to make sure you make good grades in school so you don't have to do this for the rest of your life." And I was like, "You don't have to tell me twice."
That's the guy.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. You and Spike stay in contact?
No, so I don't know where Spike is today, but he still motivated me not to want to have to go back to that dock, and so helped me study hard.
We gotta find Spike and bring him to the camp.
Right, that's right.
And show him what
he looked like a Spike too.
He did?
He looked like a Spike.
Yeah. When's the first time you think public service crossed your mind? I don't think Spike didn't put it there.
No, public service. That kind of got to me at a little bit younger age. think it was maybe ninth grade. Hugh O'Brien. I gotten involved with student council a little bit, and then won the Hugh O'Brien Leadership Award in the ninth grade. Went to their summer program that they had, and it was one of the first times I had really been around other people that had that leadership mindset, and started to realize, hey, you know what? You can be cool and still hold yourself out there as a leader, and so that was kind of one of the early things that gave me motivation. And although I was involved with student council, it was really the first time where I said, you know what, you can excel at this if you put yourself out there and just expose yourself to it. And so that Hugh O'Brien deal was a big deal.
And I got to assume that there was, between that and even, the work that you had been doing on your own in private industry and seeing some of the things where people needed help and maybe some frustrations and things had to be some part of that driver too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and with work, we handle 401k plans all over the state and in Texas and Mississippi, and so we hear the employees and their what keeps them up at night was a big motivation for me to run for office, to try and get the government out of their way and let them do what they do on a day-to-day basis, to put food on their table and save for retirement. That was a big motivator for me to be able to be a voice to all the people in the state, the workers in the state of Louisiana, and their employers as well. I mean, sitting if you want to hear the grievances of a CFO or CEO of a company, when it comes to dealing with government, it can be lengthy, and so I wanted to put a lot of that at ease for those folks, and that was a big motivation as well.
Awesome. So, Spike says, "Get it together. I want to see you back here."
Right.
We get to the point of successful careers, starting to grow the family, and then we run for office, and we're in office. There has to be. I love asking this question to all of our guests, but
You're making me nervous.
When you step down inside those brass rails for the first time, what was that feeling like for you, and what has stuck with you since then?
Yeah, so no, it was definitely surreal, and even today, when I step inside those rails, it you pinch yourself, and sometimes I'll go in the Capitol by myself, like when I'm walking through, like now while session's not going on, and to see a name on the board and to realize this was something you thought of as a child maybe that you wanted to do, and to say, hey man, you've done that, you've been able to, I don't want to just say check that box because that makes it sound a little bit too elementary, but you're representing the folks from back home, and they, not only that, but they had the faith to send you there and to appreciate their trust in you to do that. It's a big deal, and it can also be overwhelming at times because they're depending on you to make those changes, and so you really, when making those decisions, you really gotta think about those people that send you there. But yeah, and inside those brass rails, it definitely changes things. It's been good though.
Well, I got to tell you, when they ever ask me about those first times, you'll always be in that story because once I was elected, you were the first person to walk me inside those rails. Okay. And I remember thinking to myself, wait, I can come here now?
That's right.
But you walked me down there to show me the Capitol. You gave me a tour of the Capitol. You were the first guy to kind of show me the underneath of everything. So you'll always be part of that story for me. And certainly the reverence that you showed, carried forth to me and a lot of the folks that you helped in our big class that came in. All right, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. We're going to try to dig in a little bit about what you're doing when you're not around. So, or not, I should say at the Capitol. So, we've got a free Saturday, and you got nothing going on. What's ideal, Beau and Casey Saturday?
So, well, if it's first of all, you
hold on. I should be. There may be a duck hunt in there if Casey's not involved.
Correct.
So maybe I need to back that
if Casey's not involved, I'm probably duck hunting or
let's say Beau
at
Saturday.
our dear lease in North Louisiana. No, if it's at the house, like Casey and I. Last weekend we went walk. We had a kind of a flexible Saturday morning. Went walking and enjoy the city park and Main Street in New Iberia. It's a historic Main Street. It's beautiful. So to take in those things is nice. But look, my therapy when I have downtime is either behind the stove cooking. I like to cook gumbo, and also like in the garden, a vegetable garden. It's my sitting there pulling weeds and planting and tending to that is my therapy, and I can think and solve all the world's problems in some quiet time. As you know now, we don't get a whole lot of quiet time.
We don't.
So to sit still is also difficult for me at times because we're so used to going. So if I can find myself doing some yard work and just kind of, relax and chilling out, as you might say, just for a little bit, it's kind of gives you a little bit of energy for the weeks ahead.
I've been curious because for those who are learning about you for the first time, they need to know that you have a world-famous gumbo, right? Everybody talks about the Beau Beaullieu gumbo, and of course there's a little bickering inside the house in the Senate about maybe even inside the house more than not, about who has a better gumbo in the house, and we won't get into that. But it's always made me wonder, who instilled that in you? I mean, did that you just learn to cook on your own? And
Oh, absolutely not. So I cook with the Kiwanis Club in New Iberia, and Andy Swallow was he was a local pharmacist. I think he just sold his pharmacy. Still a member of Kiwanis, and so I've been in there for about 25 years. So that's about when it started. And with the Kiwanis Club, they had some successes in this World Gumbo Championship, and so I learned through them, through Andy as our team captain, and it's a real, and so I may be the captain now, but it's a well-oiled machine, so I can't take all the credit for it. In the house, I might take all the credit for it because we have, some bragging that we try and do, but it's a well-oiled machine, that team. And we are the reigning champs. We won the Melange division again this year. But yeah, no, it's fun, and it's one of my favorite weekends. It's always the second weekend in October, and so if your viewers haven't come out to the World Gumbo Championship, it's in downtown New Iberia. It's pretty cool.
Taste the Beau Beaullieu gumbo. It's
right.
famous, at least world famous out around the capital.
We've been in magazines with it as well. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. So Southern Living magazine published us, so it's a pretty cool deal.
There you go. I got it right. Beau Beaullieu at 15, 16 years old, permanent driver's license. What kind of car were we driving back then? I'm trying to take the time machine backwards right now.
A Datsun. Nissan Maxima. Or not, it wasn't Nissan, Datsun Maxima. So it was before Nissan bought Datsun. It was a diesel.
Okay.
Her name was Wanda.
Wanda.
And when you put it in neutral, smoke would fill the air. The windshield wipers would squirt the cars behind you.
Yeah.
It would talk to you. It was it had been sitting up for many years. And my dad found it from a couple off of Verotsku Road, and it was quite, probably when it was brand new. It was probably a loaded, beautiful car. By the time I got it, and then by the time I finished with it, it was quite the.
Wish we could find her. So we find Rhonda. Is that her name again?
Yep,
Wanda, and Spike. That's two takeaways I've got. If I had normally, if we were at the Capitol, I'd be taking a list of deliverables to help the chairman out, right? That's my two things I got to leave with. So, all right, Wanda, she has a cassette player, CD player in there?
There was no CDs at that time. No, definitely cassette.
I didn't ask your age, but yeah.
Right,
okay, we got it. It's a cassette.
Player.
All right. So we got in. This is the cassette you've been wearing out, right? And you just climbed in. You hit the start button on the car. There's no button. You turning that key, or I don't know.
It was definitely turning the key.
Turning the key. I got it. What's in the cassette player?
Hank Williams Jr.
Come on.
Country Boy Can't Survive would probably be or Family Tradition, or one of those things. One of those songs would probably be what's on there.
Okay, and maybe even still today?
Yeah, time to time. Chris Ledoux would be another one. I mean, so one of those would probably be what you'd find. They're on my playlist today. So
I was going to say, not much has changed. That's a pretty good answer there. Yeah. When you think about, even the area you're from, where we're from, Acadiana. I mean, down here, what's one thing that you think that maybe we take for granted down here?
Oh man, without a doubt. I mean, I don't think people realize what they have with family, with community, and what it really means here that doesn't exist in a lot of other parts of the country. I was talking to someone recently, and just about an elderly person who was ill and had family going and stay with him, and friends even. I don't want to mention the names, but a friend of ours in Iberia Parish, and we got families rotating to feed him and driving to hospital visits. And I just don't think you get that in other parts of the country. And it's not. In Louisiana, it's not forced. We want to do it. It's part of our our joie de vivre, our joy of life. It's not just in the good times. It's also taking care of each other. And I think sometimes we take it for granted. And I think sometimes we take ourselves too serious and don't realize what we have here. And if you told me I had to move to some other part of the country, I'd be kicking and screaming to leave. Not because, although I love our landscape and I love our food, it would be the people that would you'd have trouble pulling me away from, because we just have some really good people in South Louisiana.
You and I both done a lot of traveling, for work and beyond, and I can't agree with you more. And it's something about that family unit that it's we still stay pretty close knit, even though we might be miles away here. There's a lot of reliance on each other.
Look, for our Christmases and our Thanksgivings, we still have family that comes in, and they're big. I mean, they're big events, and a lot of cooking going on, and cutting up and whatnot. Look, Thanksgiving at my grandparents' house growing up was the biggest thing. We were skeet shooting, we had a hayride, we were shucking oysters, we had a little Cajun band that would come, and it wasn't just our family. It was several families that within my grandparents' network of friends that would come, and like all of their grandkids, we're all friends with, we grew up with, and we're still friends with, and again, I just don't think you see that in other parts of the country.
Which is something I think it's incumbent upon all of us, in Louisiana to keep that going, because the communities that you see that don't have it anymore, at some point it didn't stay an important factor, to protect. So we got to pass it on.
It is, no, absolutely.
We got to pass it on.
Absolutely.
All right, let's turn to that professional side for a little bit. Just thinking about any hard lessons you've learned in leadership.
In hard lessons in leadership, if your gut's telling you to do something, stick with your gut.
Fair.
And I mean, like especially with like a decision where you're worried about what others are going to think, and always do what you think is right. And I mean, it's important sometimes to take the opinion of others, and you definitely want to take the impact that it's going to have on others. But normally, if your gut tells you something, it's normally right. And I would say in 95% of the time, if I don't stick with my gut, I'm regretting it, because I know, within my conscience what I think the right decision should be, and I think people need to follow that. And I mean, you were raised for a reason, educated for a reason, and the decisions that you make are your decisions. And if you've weighed all the different options and you've chosen this after weighing the different options, you can put your head on your pillow at night and sleep comfortably. I think that's the most important thing.
I've had the opportunity to work close with you over the for at least 1 year before making my little
you got your promotion to the Senate.
The small. Not about me. This is about you. But I mean, certainly, a process, and I would say there were new people that are coming in. They watch the guys that are and the ladies that have been there, and they watch their process, and you certainly have a process, and you're now one of the folks on the that House floor you're a veteran. I mean, and been through a lot, and so. Certainly see that it's not lightly taken every time that you have to reach that finger forward and make a decision on obviously different instruments.
Yeah, that's the difficulty about what we do. You're not going to be able to make everybody happy. But one thing I think and new members have to understand, that I had to understand, and I didn't. The veterans at the time, told me about it. When you make a decision and you give somebody your word that you're going to support a piece of legislation or you're going to be opposed to a piece of legislation, you need to stick with it. They're counting on you. They're counting votes to see if they can pass the legislation or not. And when you give a constituent or you give a colleague your word that says, "Hey, I'm going to be with you on this," you need to be with them. If you're not, if the material changes, the subject matter changes to where, hey, this is not what was originally presented, you need to call the person before you vote. And I mean, because your word in that building is all. I know that's might be kind of humorous to some people, that politicians and their word might be everything that they have, but I mean, it is everything in that building. Sure. And if people are going to respect you as a colleague and as a fellow legislator, they need to know that when they're asking Beau Beaullieu or Brock Myers or any others, that they can trust the answer that they give them.
Yeah, it goes right back to the thing we talked about. It's most important in the culture, right? Trust and the reliance on each other, and obviously helping each other where we can, and having that trust. When things are getting a little intense, what keeps you grounded?
My faith, easily. I mean, when I think that things are beyond like control, which doesn't. I'm pretty laid back, and so I tend to keep everything in check and keep my emotions in check. But when I'm exhausted, I just lift it up and I say, hey, look, Lord, you put me in this position. This is a difficult position. I need some help here. And so when I put it in His hands, it's able to lighten my load. And if you don't have faith, this is the wrong job for you. As much as I rely on my faith to just get me through. And again, we're talking about the legislative stuff, but I think more people need to rely on their faith on a day-to-day basis. But my faith pulls me through most things, so especially the tough times.
Yeah. And on your family side, I mean, how many kids we have? Four kids. Yep.
And trying to install the same thing in them and trying to remind them about relying on their faith. And my oldest just got married, and so preaching to them, saying, hey, you better make sure Christ is in the middle of that relationship, because marriage has challenges. And so to hope, my wife and I have talked about this. The two of us feel like we have a strong faith, and we've had 4 children. So if those 4 children grow up as good stewards of the community and faith loving people, we've doubled the population of people who are serving Christ, and we feel that it's our obligation as a married couple to have our kids do that. And we've left the world better than we found it. As 2 people, we've left it with 4 people, and then you can get into spouses and grandchildren. So it's a multiplying effect.
Not a grandpa yet, though.
No, I'm waiting though.
Okay.
I'm waiting. Right. Look, they came back from their honeymoon. I'm like, let's go.
When you think about your good grandkids growing up, your kids getting older, this legislative world that you're in right now certainly at some point maybe come to an end. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it'll be President Beaullieu one day. But when they look back, what do you hope that they think about your time in public service?
You say this, and I think back of some of my relatives that I look back on, and I think of my Uncle Jacob Landry. He was like the epitome of what
not to be confused with Representative Jacob.
No, definitely not to be confused with Representative Jacob Landry. But if you look up my Uncle Jacob or my Uncle Smitty, you'd see like the definition of the word gentleman. And so, to just be a class act, but that, hey, look, I sacrificed, and we sacrificed, because my wife and kids sacrificed as well, to try and make Louisiana a better place, to make Acadiana a better place, and that was doing it for the right reasons all the time. And so, when politicians get put into different categories, and you hear a lot of greed and selfishness, and I'm hoping that my grandkids and my great grandkids see that I was genuine in my desire to improve the state, and also hopefully they can see the fruit of what we've done. And so hopefully they can say, hey, look, my grandfather was part of the revolution in Louisiana where we changed the place. And this is where Louisiana made the big turn, and he was part of that. And so, history will tell, but I think we're doing some good things, and hopefully that's something that they can say one day.
Well, this is a question, and we'll lead right into a great, we'll start running short of time, so I want to get to this question. Okay. We ask every one of our guests this same question, and that is, when you think about Louisiana 5-10 years from now, where do you hope that we are, and what do you hope that people think that we got right?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and I mean, I'm hoping on the education side of things that we continue to make some big improvements. So we've made some, but I mean, could you imagine if we ended up like in the top 15, the top 10 in the country from education, going from the worst to close to first? I think that would be just, a crazy awesome thing.
Sure.
And from an employment standpoint and the jobs, one of my motivating factors for running for office was to create economic activity for everybody in a state. And I think when we're looking back, if we can see, you think like the Silicon Valleys and the Austin, Texases of the world that have done some crazy awesome things from an economic development standpoint, if we could have that and have these opportunities for our kids to be able to work here and stay here, most of my classes, not only they're not in Acadiana, they're not in Louisiana, they're all over the country. And so I'd like for my kids' classes or my grandkids' classes to be able to say, hey, why would you leave Louisiana? Every opportunity is here for you, and you'd be foolish to go to other states. And I think when we're looking 10, 15 years down the road, if we can set some good policies in place, they'll have that opportunity.
Awesome goal. Yeah, awesome, Anthony.
Yep.
Lightning round.
Oh.
You don't get to explain it.
Okay.
I'm going to box you in on one or the other,
Uh-oh.
all right?
All right.
Early riser or night owl?
Yes.
Both.
Both. It
Both.
depends on the day. I was
That's
early
true.
this morning.
All right. You go game in the dome or game on TV?
Game on TV.
All right. All right. Probably a gumbo on.
Mm-hmm.
Digital calendar or paper calendar?
Digital.
Digital. All right. We made the jump. Drive there or fly there?
Fly there.
Fly there. Move quicker. King cake or beignets?
King cake.
All right. Good. I won't ask you who from. I'm not going to box you in right there.
Good.
All right. I got to ask you one more question. I'm going to box you in hard this time. What about a charity? Any charity that you want to highlight? I can only let you highlight one because we're running out of time. But maybe a charity that you want to highlight that you feel real strongly about.
Yeah, the pregnancy centers. You and I sat on a committee that we had the pro-life movement.
Sure.
We have a pregnancy center here
Yep.
in Lafayette Parish, have one in Iberia Parish.
Yep.
If somebody's looking to be generous, I think these pregnancy centers and our pro-life movement in Louisiana can use all the support and love that they can receive. So I'd like to highlight our pregnancy centers.
Well, thank you for bringing them up. Since
Absolutely.
you did, there'll be a $500 donation made in your honor to
Awesome.
the pregnancy centers. Well, thanks again, Beau. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. What I enjoy most about conversations like this is that it reminds us that leadership is personal and it's shaped by where we come from and who raised us and the values we carry with us, and maybe how we cook a gumbo every now and then. We could keep this conversation going on, but for now it's time to wrap up and we need to adjourn. So thank you to everyone who joined us for this episode, and thanks to the team at KRVS inside the studio with us and behind the microphones and the cameras. Thanks to Emily Monaghan, our production editor, and thank you to everyone who watched or listened. And be sure to subscribe, share this episode with someone who loves Louisiana, and stay engaged as we continue to work together, all of us, to build a stronger Louisiana and a stronger state. I'm State Senator Brock Myers, and we'll see you next time Inside the Rails.